This story explores mature emotional themes, including intimacy, boundaries, and trust. It does not contain explicit material. Viewer discretion is advised. It started with thunder, sharp and sudden, like the universe warning me. 1 minute, we were all in the living room, laughing over wine and old stories. The next, the storm outside killed the power, and the room dropped into silence and shadow. That's when I felt it, him, closer than he should have been. I wasn't alone. My husband, Daniel, was just down the hall, rummaging for candles. His best friend, Marcus, was right next to me on the couch. Too close now. His voice was low when he said, "You okay?" The words were simple. Innocent. But something about the way he said it, quiet, careful, made my skin prickle. Let me back up. Daniel and I have been married for 4 years. We're solid, mostly. You know how it is, routines settle in, romance gets quieter, the spark dulls under work stress, laundry, late dinners. Still, he's good to me. Steady. Safe. And then there's Marcus, is Daniel's best friend since college, the guy who shows up to every barbecue, every birthday, every everything. Charming. Loud. Funny in that way that's a little too good. I never thought much about Marcus beyond the occasional side eye when he flirted with waitresses or dropped casually inappropriate jokes. He was always the life of the party. Until lately. Lately, it felt like he noticed me a little more. Like his eyes stayed on me a little too long when Daniel wasn't looking. I should have shut it down. Maybe I told myself I was imagining it. Maybe I liked the attention more than I wanted to admit. That night, we'd been drinking. Nothing crazy, just a few glasses of red while the storm rolled in. The lights flickered once, twice, then everything went black. I made a joke about haunted houses. Marcus laughed and leaned closer. And then he didn't move back. The air between us changed. Slower. Thicker. I could smell his cologne, something dark and spicy, and I could feel the heat coming off him in waves. My phone was dead. The only light came from occasional flashes of lightning. "You sure you're okay?" he said again. And this time his hand brushed mine. It wasn't an accident. I froze. Not because I didn't know what to do, but because a part of me was waiting to see what he would do next. That moment stretched, just long enough for me to wonder why my heart was beating like it was trying to warn me. And then Daniel called out from the kitchen, found a lighter. Marcus pulled his hand back so fast, you'd think I imagined the whole thing. But I didn't. Because when the lights flickered back on, I looked at him. And he was already looking at me. The storm didn't let up. If anything, it got worse, rain hammering the windows, thunder rattling the walls. Daniel moved around the living room, setting up a few candles he found in a kitchen drawer. The soft, flickering light smoothed out the edges of the room, but it couldn't hide the way Marcus avoided looking at me now. Or the way my hands wouldn't stop fidgeting in my lap. On the surface, everything was normal. Daniel joked about how we were officially living in a horror movie and opened another bottle of wine. Marcus laughed, a little too loud, a little too fast. I laughed too, because what else was I supposed to do? A part of me, the rational part, wanted to forget about what happened in the dark. Call it nothing. Pretend it never happened. But the truth was, it had happened. And it wasn't nothing. Marcus and Daniel weren't just best friends. They were chosen family. They'd been through it all, the college hangovers, breakups, job changes, everything. Marcus had been Daniel's best man at our wedding. He'd toasted to our once-in-a-lifetime love with a grin that stretched too wide. Looking back now, I wondered if the cracks had already been there, too small for me to notice at the time. I told myself it was the storm, the darkness, the wine. That Marcus didn't mean it. But I could still feel the ghost of his touch on my hand. And worse, I could still feel the part of me that hadn't pulled away fast enough. I glanced at him across the candlelight. His jaw was tight. His eyes flicked to mine for half a second before he looked away, reaching for his glass like it might save him from the weight in the room. Daniel, oblivious, sat between us, swirling his wine and rambling about the last horror movie he watched. Normal. Comfortable. Safe. And yet, there it was, that tension stretching between Marcus and me, silent and invisible but real. A living thing. The more I sat there, the more pieces of the past rearranged themselves in my mind. How Marcus always seemed to find reasons to be around, even when Daniel wasn't home. How he remembered little things about me, my favorite takeout order, the way I took my coffee, the book I mentioned once and forgot about until he showed up with it. I told myself he was just being a good friend. That's what Daniel would say, if he could hear my thoughts. That's what I used to believe too. Daniel leaned over and kissed the side of my head, easy and familiar. "You good, babe?" he asked. I smiled back, the kind of smile you practice in a mirror when you don't want anyone to ask too many questions. "Yeah," I said. "Just tired." Marcus shifted on the couch. He drained his glass and stood up, mumbling something about needing some air. The front door creaked open, and a gust of wet, cold air rushed in before he shut it behind him. Daniel didn't seem to notice. He stretched out on the couch and closed his eyes, muttering something about giving the storm 5 more minutes before we call it a night. But I stayed sitting there, staring at the door Marcus had just walked through. The storm roared around the house, and I wondered, was it really the weather keeping me awake? Or was it the look Marcus gave me in the dark, the one that said this story between us wasn't over yet? The rain hadn't let up. If anything, it had become a steady roar, swallowing the quiet in the house. Daniel had fallen asleep on the couch, his breathing deep and even, one hand still loosely holding his wine glass. I slipped it from his grip and set it on the coffee table. He didn't stir. He always slept hard after a few drinks. That was one of the first things I learned about him. I stood there for a moment, candlelight casting shadows across the walls, thinking about how normal this should have felt. Married. Safe. Inside while the storm raged out there. But normal wasn't what I felt. Marcus had been gone for almost 20 minutes. I opened the front door. He was sitting on the edge of the porch steps, soaked through, elbows on his knees, staring out into the street like he was waiting for the rain to wash something off of him. "You're going to catch a cold," I said, softly. He didn't turn around. "You ever sit with something so long you don't recognize yourself anymore?" he asked. I didn't know what to say to that. I closed the door gently behind me and stood beside him under the overhang. The air was cold and wet, the kind that sticks to your skin and sinks in. "Marcus, you crossed a line tonight." He finally looked at me. "I know. And I hate myself for it. But if I'm being honest," he paused, took a breath like it might burn to say it out loud. "I've been crossing that line in my head for a long time. I should have walked back inside. I should have shut it down right there." But the way he looked at me, raw, real, and completely unguarded, made it hard to breathe. "I love Daniel," I said. The words came out like a defense. But even as I said them, part of me felt like I was trying to remind myself, not him. "I know you do." That's the worst part, he said, voice low. I'm not trying to mess that up. I never meant for it to happen. But somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing you as just his wife. There it was. Truth, laid out in the middle of a storm. And the worst part? I didn't hate him for saying it. Inside the house, a sudden knock at the back door made us both jump. I turned, confused. You expecting anyone? Marcus stood quickly, already walking toward the side of the porch. No. Are you? We rushed around to the back, me barefoot, him trailing water like a shadow. Another knock. Firmer this time. Daniel was still asleep. I didn't wake him. Something about the moment felt off. I opened the back door. A woman stood there. Blonde. Mid-30s. Soaked from the rain. Her mascara was running, and her expression was tired, haunted. She looked at me like she knew me. Like she'd been carrying this moment in her chest for a long time. I'm sorry to come like this, she said, voice shaking. But I need to talk to Marcus. And I think your husband deserves to hear what I know. Marcus froze. His entire body went still behind me. I turned to him, heart thudding in my chest. He wasn't looking at her. He was looking at me, with panic in his eyes. Whatever this was, it wasn't over. It was just beginning. Marcus didn't move. He stood just behind me, shoulders squared, jaw locked, but I could feel the panic rolling off him like steam. The woman at the door didn't flinch either. Her eyes were on me, not him. I stepped forward, shielding the doorway with my body before I even thought about it. Who are you? I asked. She swallowed hard, voice low. My name's Leah. I don't want to cause trouble, but I don't have a choice anymore. Marcus and we were involved. Until a week ago. I heard the blood rush in my ears before her words even finished landing. Behind me, Marcus finally spoke. Leah, don't you know, she snapped, eyes still locked on mine. You don't get to shut me down now. Not after everything. You lied to me. You lied to her. And I think her husband deserves to know the kind of people he's trusted with his life. My heart dropped. Her husband. Daniel. Still asleep in the living room. Still thinking everything was fine. I turned slowly to Marcus. Is this true? He looked at me, his face tight with shame, rainwater still dripping from his hair. He didn't answer. Not with words. Just that silence, loud, undeniable, and crushing. I stepped back like I'd been hit. So all this, what you said out there, was what? A performance? You were just bored and decided to mess with everyone's life at once? No, Marcus said quickly, his voice cracking. I didn't plan this. Leah and she wasn't supposed to mean anything. It started before you and I got close. Before tonight. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was absurd. You call this getting close? Leah pushed forward. He told me he loved me. He said he was trying to find a way to come clean. I found the address weeks ago, but I didn't want to blow up a marriage if he was telling the truth. But he wasn't. I saw your wedding photos. The anniversary posts. The lies. Marcus reached for her. Leah, stop please. She shook him off. I felt sick. My marriage was suddenly the calm center of a storm I didn't see coming. And yet, I wasn't sure if I was more furious at Marcus for lying, or at myself for letting something in me want to believe him out there on the porch. Daniel stirred inside. I heard the creak of the couch. The low thud of his footsteps heading toward us. Time felt like it split in two, the moment before he knew, and the one after, whatever that would be. Someone better start explaining fast, I whispered, stepping out of the way as Daniel reached the back door. He blinked at the scene, me standing in the middle, Marcus pale and tense, Leah dripping rain and betrayal. His smile faded in slow motion. What's going on? No one answered. Just silence thick enough to choke on. Marcus finally said his name. Daniel, but before he could finish, Daniel's eyes moved to me. Why do I feel like I'm the last person in this house to know what's really going on? The air was electric. Unstable. Like the next word could set everything on fire. Daniel didn't yell. He didn't ask questions. He just stared at each of us like he was reading a crime scene, trying to figure out where the first lie had started. His eyes landed on Marcus, then flicked to the woman, Leah, before settling on me. What happened? He asked quietly. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. How could I explain something I hadn't even fully processed? That Marcus had crossed a line, that he wasn't who we thought, that this woman at the door, this stranger, held pieces of a puzzle none of us saw coming? I think you should sit down, Marcus said, voice tight. Daniel ignored him. Leah spoke instead. He's been lying to all of us. I didn't come to destroy anything, but you need to know what he's capable of. Daniel shook his head slowly, like it would somehow reset everything. What are you talking about? And then she pulled out her phone. She tapped a few times, then held it out, her hand shaking. Photos. Dozens of them. Selfies, hotel rooms, texts. Time-stamped. Some dated as recently as 2 weeks ago, while Marcus had been in our house. While we'd been making dinner, watching movies, laughing. Daniel's jaw tensed, but he didn't speak. You said you ended it, I said, staring at Marcus. You said it was over before tonight. I lied, Marcus admitted, voice hollow. But it wasn't about hurting you. I was trying to figure out what I wanted. And I kept screwing it up. Daniel's voice broke through the tension, calm and ice-cold. You used my marriage to figure yourself out? Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear. Then Daniel turned to Leah. Why now? And that's when the twist came. Leah didn't answer right away. She looked down, then back up at me. Because I thought I was just the other woman, she said. But I was wrong. I'm not the only one Marcus lied to. I found out last week, I'm not the first. There's been others. And not just women. The room shifted. The silence cracked into something sharp. Marcus went still. I blinked. What are you talking about? Leah held his gaze. Ask him who Caleb is. Marcus's face drained of all color. I stepped back. Who the hell is Caleb? Daniel looked between them, suddenly more still than I'd ever seen him. Marcus, he said. Just one word. But it carried weight, like he already knew. Marcus opened his mouth, but his voice caught. It was college. It was years ago. I didn't think it mattered anymore. Daniel stepped forward. You lied to me too? You told me you were straight. You made jokes about this, about people coming out. And all this time, Caleb? You were with Caleb? Marcus looked down. I was Caleb's roommate, Daniel said, his voice rising now. You let me hate him for ghosting me, for ditching our group, and it was you who broke him? No one moved. Marcus finally said, "I was scared. I didn't know how to be honest then." "And now?" Daniel asked. "You've wrecked Leah. You've destroyed our friendship. You played my wife. How many more people get hurt while you figure it out?" Marcus looked at me. "I never meant to hurt you. But the thing is, none of it mattered now. Because the version of Marcus I thought I knew? He never existed." The room felt hollow after the truth fell out. Marcus didn't speak. He couldn't. His hands trembled at his sides, but no apology was going to clean up the mess he'd made, not with me, not with Leah, and definitely not with Daniel. Daniel turned away, one hand gripping the back of the couch like he needed something to anchor him. His voice came low, restrained. "You were the one person I never thought I'd have to second-guess." Marcus stepped forward. "Daniel, please. I didn't tell you because I was afraid of losing you." "You lost me anyway," Daniel said, without turning around. There it was. The final line crossed. The kind of betrayal that changes the temperature between people forever. I stood in the doorway, watching it all break apart in slow motion. My heart should have been wrecked, shattered. But in the middle of all the pain, I felt something else, clarity. This wasn't about Marcus anymore. Or Leah. Or Caleb. It was about how easy it is to believe people are who we need them to be, until they show us who they really are. Daniel turned to me, eyes softer now. Did anything actually happen between you two?" I hesitated. "No. Not physically." "Emotionally?" I swallowed. "I didn't think so. But I didn't stop it either. Not when I should've." He didn't get angry. He just nodded, like part of him already knew. Leah spoke next. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have shown up like this. But someone had to stop him." "No," I said, looking at her. "You did the right thing." The rain outside finally started to ease. That strange, hollow quiet after a storm crept in, the air thick with the weight of everything said. Marcus sat down, like the fight had gone out of him. "I never wanted to be the villain." "You weren't supposed to be," I said. "But you made choices. We all did. Now we live with them." Daniel turned to me again. "So what now?" And I didn't have an answer. I looked at him, really looked. The man who always showed up, even when I was too distracted to appreciate it. The man who deserved honesty. And I realized something I hadn't admitted until right then. "I think we need time," I said quietly. Not a break. Not a dramatic exit. Just space. To figure out what's still real between us, and what's just been holding us in place. He nodded. "Fair." Leah stepped out the door without another word. She didn't need to stay. Her part was done. Marcus stayed seated, staring at the floor like maybe he could rewind it all. Daniel looked back at him one last time. "You could have told me. Years ago." "I know. I might have still had your back." "I know that too." He walked past him without another word. I followed Daniel down the hall, and for a moment everything felt still. Calm. Then, just as I reached the bedroom door, I glanced at my phone on the nightstand. One missed call. Unknown number. A voicemail. I pressed play. A man's voice, quiet. Shaky. "Hi. My name's Caleb. I don't know if this is still your number, but I need to talk. It's about Marcus." and something he took from me that doesn't belong to him. I think you should hear this. My stomach turned. Maybe it wasn't over after all. It's been 6 months since that night. After I listened to Caleb's message, I met with him. He wasn't bitter, just tired. Tired of being erased. He told me the truth about Marcus. About how he loved him once, and how Marcus made him feel invisible when it got complicated. Caleb didn't want revenge. He just didn't want me to fall for the same version of Marcus he once did. That conversation changed everything. I told Daniel. We cried. We didn't scream. We didn't run. We sat with the truth, no matter how much it hurt. Then, we did the hard thing, we stayed. Together. But we built something new. This time, with honesty as the foundation. Counseling. Real conversations. Boundaries. Leah went on to start a blog, helping other women leave toxic relationships and recognize the red flags earlier. She turned pain into purpose. She's stronger than any of us gave her credit for. And Marcus? He left town. No goodbye. Just silence. But maybe that's the one honest thing he's ever given us is space. The truth is, love isn't always enough. But respect? Integrity? Those are the real foundations. Without them, everything else falls apart. So, if there's anything I've learned from all of this, it's this: people will disappoint you. But you get to choose what you carry forward, and who you carry it with.